Hey everybody, let's talk about writing a proposal. Here's the plan for this video. We're going to look at the assignment sheet real quick. Then I've got a slideshow here. I want to show you some things to think about, some priorities to keep in mind, and answer some questions you're likely to have about proposals. We're going to look at some example proposals to help sort of understand those lessons. And then I'm going to talk about proposal sort of design, layout, kind of formatting. And we'll look at kind of an example kind of layout or design that you could use. So that's the agenda here. First thing we want to do is we want to look at our assignment sheet. Okay, so here's our assignment sheet. Always want to look at the assignment sheet again whenever we sit down to kind of start this assignment. So, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, well, I do define a proposal up here. It's um, a document that encourages others to take concrete and specific action in order to bring about change. So I think that a couple of keywords there are concrete and specific. That's what we want to have in mind all the way through this. It's the very first sentence of the assignment sheet. Creating change. Okay, so that's a good start. I have some example proposals here. Let's get down to the material and audience thing. When it comes to selecting a proposal topic, you should continue on with the kind of the topic that you've already selected because you know a lot about it. And then we have audience here. You should choose an audience for your proposal. Now, this is something that came up in discussion in class. I think the easiest thing to do here is to select an audience of one of your stakeholders that you analyze for writing project 2. So that's especially the case if you selected stakeholders for writing project 2 that were pretty discrete, like clear named organizations or groups. So if it's just sort of a general idea of a group, you want to get specific. You want to say like this organization, here's what you should be doing. And so if you already have a named organization for your stakeholders in writing project 2, then that's helpful. If you're not, you need to get there. You can also select a stakeholder outside of that. However, one of the first things you'll need to do is understand that stakeholder really well, understand what they care about, what their values are, what their beliefs are, what they want, etc. And so you already have that part done if you follow up on writing project 2 directly. Then you need to start doing some research into other solutions that have been offered, and you can propose one of those solutions. So you don't need to generate some sort of entirely new idea from scratch. Often, I think what you'll end up doing is you'll take a kind of big idea and apply it something to somewhere kind of smaller scope or local. And I'll give you some examples of that in a second. But the key takeaway here is yeah, like see what other people are saying. You can rely on that a lot, or you can just use that as a springing off point to generate your own ideas. And then we get down here into some other stuff that I think you should be keeping in mind as you figure out what to say, understanding the situation, how you want to position yourself, and these are all things that you should think about as you go along. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're still kind of early in our process here, so let's take a look at a presentation about kind of what we're doing with this. So to get started, as I said, know your audience and what do you know about them. Let's talk about this scope issue. This is something, again, that's come up a lot in discussion. You do not need to generate a solution that is going to completely solve the problem. As I said, what you might do is look at a big solution and apply it at a smaller scale or locally. I think an example of that is electric cars. This is a topic that a lot of people have picked, and I think probably if you pick this, you might be struggling with generating a solution or a proposal because, in ways it feels like the proposal for electric cars makes itself. Do more electric cars. They're great. Okay, so that's not really a proposal because it's like a positive idea. It's like a good thing. It's a recommendation, not a proposal. And there's a difference between a recommendation and a proposal. So if we apply our first bullet point here to our thinking about our second bullet point, well, we need that specific audience. So I think some examples of electric car related proposals that have specific audiences are, hey, Michael Crow, president of ASU. ASU has a bunch of vehicles that are driving around campus. We should replace all of those vehicles with electric vehicles. Okay, so that's a proposal. We'd have to do some research thinking about this. Are they going to meet the needs? What would the cost of that be? Michael Crow would probably have a lot of questions about this idea. That's where all the research and the work and the writing, that's where everything that follows comes in. But for now, this is a start. This is an actionable idea. And then another one is that comes to mind is this one gets a little complicated, but essentially there are all these rules and regulations around how cars can be sold. You can't buy a car directly from a manufacturer. You can't go to the Ford plant and buy a Ford, right? You can only buy it from dealers. And there are actually laws about that. And Tesla doesn't sell through dealers; they only sell directly from Tesla. So they can't actually sell in storefronts in a lot of states, or can't have dealerships. It gets complicated, but you could easily do some work on it. You could figure out how that works. And Texas is one of those states, so you could write to the governor of Texas and say, hey, Tesla should be able to set up dealerships and sell their cars directly. Okay. Or, another one I thought of is my local Target shopping center has some superchargers in the parking lot, but lots of Target shopping centers don't. So you could identify a Target shopping center that doesn't have that, and then you could write a proposal to the general manager of Target or the property developer that leases out the properties, and you could say you should install superchargers. Again, big idea, actionable scope, specific audience. Then your research is like, well, how would it do in this location? What are the benefits for the company of enacting these things, etc. But it's like that gives you a lot to follow up on, and it's really discrete and actionable. So if you are struggling with this, I think these are examples. And if you have a different topic, you should be thinking along the lines of these examples. You should be looking for things that are kind of similar in scope to these kinds of things. If you're struggling a lot to come up with a proposal idea, I think first, do research. Second, consider, is there somebody else in the class maybe doing a similar topic to you? Maybe you should talk to them for a minute. Look around. If you're doing fast fashion, there's a couple of people doing fast fashion in every class. So that would be one you could talk to other people about. And then third, come talk to me. I generated these ideas about electric cars, and I can help you come up with some more for other ideas, other topics. Okay. Let's talk about what the components of a proposal are. As I said, a proposal is not a recommendation. They're different. Proposals get used a lot in business. They get used a lot in school and academia, and they get used a lot just in sort of day-to-day life. And the things that differentiate a proposal from a recommendation are that they have these clearly marked, they clearly contain these moves. Sometimes they're clearly indicated. Maybe there's a section that says problem. Sometimes they're not so clearly indicated, but they're still kind of there. So what those are is a proposal. You convince the reader that they have a problem, and they help them understand the problem. A missed opportunity can be a problem, right? Sometimes the problem is just things are fine, but they could be better, right? We're not as good as we could be. That is definitely a problem that people accept proposals to solve. Show them that the problem is solvable. Show them how to enact the solution. Show them what will happen after that they enact your solution, and consider and address possible objections. So these ones kind of go together. They might be linked in a way that it's like you show them that your solution is feasible, right? So this is a solvable problem because my solution is actionable and feasible. So these kind of go often quite closely together. And then this also functions as a sort of plan or outline. So you want to help people understand, do this and do this and do this. It will solve this problem, and we will arrive at this outcome. So it's much more sort of laid out, prescriptive, and fully thoughtful than just a recommendation would be. Now, I'm going to highlight right here. If you're doing the extra credit assignment, which I encourage you to do, then you want to make reference to one of these purposes or moves that proposals contain in your example proposal. So find something, show me, like just highlight one spot and say, this is where this person is doing this thing. Okay, so that's your extra credit assignment. So this is the list that you're making reference to. So let's look at an example proposal of that.
Beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan did.
Okay, so here we have an example proposal. The first thing Darth Vader is doing here is he is showing Luke Skywalker that he has a problem. He's about to be destroyed by Darth Vader. Definitely a problem.
There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you.
Further elaborating on the problem.
Luke, you do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
Okay, So Luke doesn't yet know his power. So his problem is actually solvable, as it turns out. That was one of our moves. How can he solve it? Well, he can align himself with Darth Vader and bring order to the galaxy. It's going to solve his problem for sure. He won't be destroyed.
Join you! If you only knew the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan never told
So the solution is feasible.
you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
So Luke raises an objection to this solution, which is that you killed my father. And Darth Vader counters his objection to the proposal by pointing out that he is, in fact, Luke's father himself. So you probably never looked at this scene through the lens of a proposal, but that's exactly what it is.
No. It's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No! No!
Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your destiny. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Okay, so show them what will happen after you enact the solution. We will rule the galaxy as father and son. Consider and address possible objections. I am your father. Show them how to enact the solution. He's got his hand outstretched. That's part of the proposal. It's like the hand, like join me. Convince them the problem is solvable. You have more power than you know. You are more important than you know. Convince the reader that there is a problem. You're about to be destroyed by my lightsaber. All the elements of a proposal in that 1 2-minute scene. Let's take a look at one more. This one's a little different.
Warm when you're feeling chilled, but you don't want to raise your heating bill. Blankets are okay, but they can slip and slide. And when you need to reach for something, your hands are trapped inside. Now, there's the Snuggie, the blanket that has sleeves. The Snuggie keeps you totally warm and gives you the freedom to use your hands. So now,
Jaunty music is not always part of a proposal. In this case, it is.
you can work the remote or read a book in total warmth and comfort. Use your laptop without being cold or enjoy a snack while staying snugly warm. Snuggie is made of ultra-soft, thick, luxurious fleece.
Okay, so we'll stop there. Infomercials like this are often great for representing proposal elements. You clearly they are convincing the reader there's a problem and it's really dire. It's even in black and white, right? Convince them the problem is solvable with a Snuggie. Show them how to enact the solution. Order now. It's $25. 3 payments of whatever. That's how you enact it. Show what will happen after you enact the solution. There's plenty of that. Happy people wearing Snuggies. Consider and address possible objections. They don't do that one so much, I think, in this, but it's probably in there somewhere. Mostly they don't want to kind of get into the negativity at all. Actually what would fit this is like it's really low price. Anytime they say it's totally cheap or it'll arrive quickly or something like that, that would be considering and objecting possible solutions. So there we go. Proposals, a couple of example proposals for you. And as you can see, they're doing these things. So when you write your own proposal, you want to, as you develop it, you want to ask yourself, am I accomplishing these purposes? Then you need to, once you've decided on your audience and you've figured out a proposal, you need to think, okay, what is the form that I can write in to speak to this audience? Because that's going to vary. A very common type of proposal that is used in academia, for instance, is a grant proposal. And you can go online, you can Google how to write a grant proposal. And a grant proposal is basically, give me money so I can do this project or something like that. A lot of research is funded with grant proposals. So there's like a particular way of writing a grant proposal, and you can look into that. And then there's another format, which is more like a professional and business proposal. An investment, like invest in my company because, is a very particular type of business proposal. And it has some similarities to a grant proposal, but it's not exactly the same. And then there's a sort of more general, like professional proposal kind of thing that we could do. So I think that if we wanted to look back at our examples here, something like this one and this one, probably, these would be more like professional proposals. This one, it would be more like a letter of proposal, because you're writing sort of unsolicited to a legislator. So, again, even among these audiences, we'd have slightly different forms. I think a very common form is one that's more like a professional proposal. It's 2 out of the 3 that I generated would fit. You at least could use a professional proposal format. So I'm going to show you how a professional proposal might be laid out. And a professional proposal, the things that mark it are that it's very clear and distinct about its organization. It very clearly says, okay, now I am going to tell you about the problem. Now I am going to tell you about the solution. So it tells the reader exactly what it's doing, really lays things out in this really kind of easy to read way. And so it's going to have section headers. And this is something that not just professional proposals, but lots of other proposal formats would have. They'd have little like actual section headers, right? Just like in the assignment sheet, which is definitely a form of professional proposal. I would say an assignment sheet definitely fits that bill, right? Talks about the benefits for you and the points allotted and stuff like that. I have these section headers marking it up. So a professional proposal would have those as well. And in the introduction section, you do a couple of things. You'd announce your subject, you talk about what this proposal is, talk about why it's important. I'm going to give some just general background information to make sure everybody's on the same page. And if you do a proposal like this, which you want to make sure that you're doing, and you'll see this if you look up any information about how to write a professional proposal, you'll see advice like this, which is just be very direct, be very clear and direct. Just tell the reader exactly what you're doing. Say things like, I am writing to propose. Use that kind of language. Assume your reader knows nothing, but not a whole lot about this like purpose that you have. And you want to again convince them they have a problem. Again, this is something that you do across all types of proposals. Show them that that they have a problem. Define the problem. Discuss why the problem exists. Maybe less or more of that depending on the context. And definitely kind of give them an idea of what will happen if nothing is done. So, if you don't join me, I'll destroy you. That's what will happen if you don't take the action. Okay. Research that you do in your research for this project, a chunk of that research will probably be in this space. It will show up here. It'll show up in helping the reader understand the problem. And you might be able to rely on some of the sources that you previously found in order to accomplish that purpose. Then you want to lay out the plan. This is, okay, so let's do this thing. Join me, and we will take these actions together. So this is how we're going to make this happen. And it might be that there are steps to that, or it might be that there's a timeline. It might be that there's an outcome that you're promising related to that. But it should be very clear and methodical, especially in a professional type of report. We do this, we do this, we do this. And this is, again, another spot that the research that you're doing might come in. It might come in this component, in the how-to component. And again, this just aligns very closely. I had these multiple purposes, right? Show them how to enact your solution. Basically, what I'm saying is in a professional report, you'd take this portion of this idea, this sort of objective that you have, and you'd give it its own section. In a different type of proposal document, you might not have it in its own section, but you would still have it somewhere, the part where you show how it's done. Okay, then what you probably want to do is in a professional report, market analysis or comparison. Describe why this solution is the best one for the job. What you're basically doing is you're showing them that the problem is solvable and it's solvable by you and them in this way. So again, coming back to here, this is this portion, showing them that it's solvable. If we take this action, it's really a feasible action. We can do these things. And again, I keep saying it, but like in a professional report, that gets its own section. In a different style or genre of report, such as a join me on the dark side speech, it doesn't get its own clearly marked section with a header because it's a speech, but it's still in there. And then conclusion, show the cost, describe the future if the plan is adopted, we'll rule the galaxy. Thanks and contact info. Hey, Luke, let me know what you think. Luke throws himself off the little thing in Cloud City before he can get to this part. Okay. Actually, Darth Vader and Luke sort of reach. Do they communicate through the Force a little bit? No, he doesn't. That's right. No, it's Han Solo and Luke that kind of communicate through the Force at the end of that movie. Need to watch Return of the Jedi again. Okay. Other things you might think about are having a title page, a table of contents, having a bibliography. The things you want to keep, like as you kind of work on your proposal, you want to keep in mind that you want to be upfront. You should know your own elevator pitch for your proposal. So what I mean by that is be ready to sort of spit out in like 30 seconds. Here's what I think should happen, like as if you were talking directly to that person. It's called an elevator pitch because the idea is like if you were doing the Michael Crow one and you like happen to get stuck in an elevator with Michael Crow, well, that's 30 seconds with Michael Crow. Can you make your pitch right there? You should have it practiced and ready to go so you can tell Michael Crow, hey, let's get some electric cars on campus. And here's why in like that 30-second pitch. It's a really helpful thing for you to know how to do that. And then you might want to include some visuals or graphics. It's not required for this assignment, but it could be done. Okay, I'm going to keep coming back to this list. Again, if you're doing the extra credit, this is the list you need. Okay, everybody. So that's what I got for you. Let me know if you have questions.